Good afternoon. I'm Christine Taylor Lewis, and on behalf of the Afro-American Historical Association of Fauquier County, I thank you for your continued support and welcome you to this, our 16th in a series of conversations with family historians and others who will share their genealogy research or provide information related to local African Americans and their history. Our mission at AAHA is to collect, document, preserve, and share U.S. history with a focus on African Americans in Fauquier County. Hopefully, these bi-weekly virtual events will remind you of the richness of our history and culture here in Fauquier County. We encourage you to visit our website at aahafauquier.org. There, you will find a link to the extensive collection of historical information available in our database, including photographs, artifacts, and books, links to archives, and a variety of ongoing projects. You'll also find a link to our virtual tour of our museum, an interactive story map giving individual histories of the African American communities, schools, and churches in Fauquier County, as well as links to news stories about some of the persons, places, and events that keep the AAHA mission and goals alive. So do visit us at aahafauquier.org. I also would like to note that this year marks the Afro-American Historical Association of Fauquier County's 30th anniversary. So in commemoration, there will be a bi-weekly post on Facebook each Thursday to describe some of AAHA's various initiatives, programs, and services over time. The theme for these posts will be down through the years, and we invite you to follow us. Now, during the month of August, our focus has been on publications by women born and reared in Fauquier County. 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation with Takesha Ball Payne, who wrote and published 2 very successful children's books, and it was such a delightful event. Now today, we will talk to 2 very gifted and insightful women who authored and published books having to do with the importance and value of having faith. They are Pamela Swann Rennick and Lorraine Jones Whitfield. Hello, ladies.
Hello, hello.
And welcome. Our first guest, Pamela Swann Rennick, was born and reared in Fauquier County, where she also attended public schools. She takes great joy in knowing that her ancestry leads back to the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria and the Ewondu tribe in Cameroon. She has an adopted daughter through World Vision in Ethiopia, whose name is Bontu Dereje. Pamela received a degree in office administration and in management from Northern Virginia Community College. She's been serving in the evangelical ministry since the early 1990s and is the original author of the RENNICK Ministry Newsletter. Pamela enjoys sports, traveling, and spending time with her husband, Pastor Kevin Rennick, who is a military veteran, and their 2 children, Shante and Stephanas. So hello, Pamela.
Hello.
Hello again.
So happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, thank you. We at AAHA thank you so much for taking the time to join us and to share your book entitled Experiencing Death and the Growth from It. I found it to be a very creative way to pen an autobiographical perspective on handling death. So apparently your own experiences with the death of loved ones has proven that faith can play a vital role in the process of moving from grief to growth. So before we get into the meat of your book, let's talk a little bit about your early years and how they might have laid the foundation for your book, which came out some decades later.
Absolutely. So I grew up in the village of Asheville, which is a little suburb of Marshall,
Yes.
the big city of Marshall, Virginia.
Right.
And in Asheville, we were a very close-knit group. You knew everybody. All the families knew one another. We looked out for one another.
Yes.
Anything that we could do to help each other, we did it. And there was no questions really asked. We attended church there. And that's where I got my foundation in Christ. That's where I received Christ and got baptized. And almost everything that they had in church, we had to be a part of. There was no missing church back then.
Yes.
You were part of everything from, the time you joined church. You were really encouraged to be involved, because that's where you grow and learn, being involved and
That's
studying
right.
the word.
That's right. And knowing that Asheville is a small, tight, close-knit community, the church is a very central part of that.
Absolutely.
And Asheville is a very historic village going back to, I think it was 1869 when they were established. And then a few years later, the church was founded, and then the school, and then that little close-knit community. You came some 100 years later, and it's a blessing. So I can see how the church played a vital role in your foundation.
Absolutely.
So when did you realize that you really enjoyed writing?
That's a good question, because I was thinking about that, and I thought about when I was a little kid, just learning how to write. And I wrote this book that I was so proud of. I don't know if my sister remembers or not. It was called Nutty Kabuddy. And it was a rhyming book, and I was so proud of my little book. And I think I was reading and going on about it so much. I think one of my sisters probably destroyed it, because when I looked for it again and couldn't find it, I was very upset. So writing has been a part of me. I'm a big proponent of journaling. I love to journal and write. So that helps me to retain information when I sit there and write it down. And my sisters laugh at me, because even when we had family meetings or conversations, I'm sitting there writing, taking notes so that I can remember what we were talking about.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So your foundation was early, very early. And you started out as a little poet.
Yes.
Nutty Kabuddy. Was Nutty Kabuddy a person, or
it was just a little fictional,
imaginary friend.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. The Lord really formed your imagination in a great way. He did.
But from those gifts are in us from when we're born. We just may not recognize it.
Yes.
And he developed them as we grow.
Yes, that's very true. True, yes. So what inspired you to write and publish this book?
Well, as we were going through the pandemic, and we lost so many people, and we saw a lot of death. And I was just praying. I was like, well, God, what can I do? I'm high risk, so I can't really be out there doing a whole lot of stuff with people. Yeah. But I was like, I want to do something. I want to be a part to help other people. And as I was saying, I journal all the time. So my part of my book where I wrote about my great grandma Kate, I probably wrote that over 40 some years ago in one of my journals.
Yes.
And my grandma Florence, she died in 93. So, that's how long I've written about her. And I just started thinking about those things and how I dealt with death. And I said, I'm not the only one. So maybe I can help someone with my experience. So that's how it came about. And I just heard the Lord one day say, gave me this title, and I wrote it down. And I started pulling my stuff together.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Because I truly do believe everything that we go through is not just for us, but it's for us to help others reach back and help others to get through what they go through and help them reach that purpose of what God has given them.
Yes.
And we all have a story to tell.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And you tell it very well.
Thank
talked
you.
about journaling, and as I was reading your book, I said it was amazing that you would remember that far back, but it's because you've been journaling that long that you've kept the
Yes.
record, so it was inaccurate.
But you know, my grandma Kate was my best friend, so I can remember a lot about her. A lot about her. My kids, they think they know her from me talking about her.
Yeah, well, I feel like I know her because my husband, Phil, talked a lot about Aunt Kate, as he called her. He said many people call her Aunt Kate. I said, well, how does she relate to you? She's not my natural aunt, but everybody calls her Aunt Kate. And how she had this experience when she came to know the Lord.
Yes.
And he always talks about how she looked at her hands and her hands changed and everything about her had changed. And that really left quite an impression on him. And I'm sure that it has helped to
yes.
build
And
his
let me
faith.
say, let me say this too. Phil is a product of Asheville, the village I'm from.
Yes, he sure is. No question about that. I like to think I'm a byproduct in some way. So, Pamela, your book begins with a very heartfelt dedication to a man that you call Granddad Rennick. And you even have a couple pictures of him, one of him by himself, very handsome picture, and then one of yourself with him. So talk to us about who he was and why you so highly esteem him. What is it about Granddad Rennick?
Granddad became like my surrogate father when I married into his family in my 20s. And we just became very close knit. I could call him, talk to him about anything. He said that he depended on me and looked at me as his daughter also. And I think it's the love from him that just oozed out in everything that he did. He was like a father figure to many people. And he was just full of joy. He always had a kind word. He always was helping people. You never heard him say anything evil about anyone. It was just the love of Christ in him.
Oh, that's beautiful. I saw one of the images. He lived to be 100 years old, or was it?
102.
102.
Wow.
Wow. So where did he live? Did he live in the Asheville area?
He lived in New York.
Oh my.
Yes.
Okay.
He lived in New York, and he walked everywhere he went. He was very healthy and strong and very nice looking man that I'm proud to call my granddad Rennick.
Yeah, he was a handsome man.
Yes.
The image of him when he was 100, he looked very young. He can pass for being in his 70s, really.
Yes, I agree. I always say he looked like he was just in his 50s.
Well, that was a marvelous tribute that you made to him. I can tell that you're very close. And thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and that was a deep loss for me.
I can imagine. So now we're going to get to the meat of your book, if you will allow us.
Okay.
The 6 chapters. And I read all of them. I had to pause at the last chapter and then come back to that one. But each chapter talked about the death of a particular loved one. And one chapter covered more than one person. And what you did was to explain how your faith had sustained you during the periods that these loved ones passed away. So I thank you very much for your willingness to share some of these experiences. We want people to purchase your book and learn about all of them and to learn about the details. So what I've asked if you could highlight that by giving us 3, if you will. If you feel more comfortable with 2, that's fine. But tell us the title of the chapter the name of the loved one who passed, their relationship to you, and just one word to describe your growth from dealing with that death experience.
Okay. So the first one, I'll go with the first chapter, which is losing my best friend. And that was my grandma, Kate, who everybody called Aunt Kate. And again, that was because of the love that she showed. She helped everybody. She was a midwife. She was a church clerk for many years in Asheville Church. She lived right beside me, so I was able to go to her house every single day. And I spent a lot of time with her, and she became my best friend. She was another one who always had a song on her heart. She, no matter what she was doing, she was singing, she was teaching you, she was giving you scriptures, giving you directions for life. And she became my best friend as a great grandma. And I would always go there, and she had a little nickname for me, and it was,
what was that?
we were very close.
Yeah. So what nickname was that you want to share?
She called me Bounce the Ball. She said when I came walking down the hill to her house, I looked like a little ball bouncing, walking down there.
Yeah, you had a little bounce in your step. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I remember when she was telling me she was going to get her son to cut her hair. And so I was like, oh, let me cut me some bangs too. I went home and started cutting my bangs and kept messing them up. And they ended up being way up here.
Oh, wow.
My mom came home, she was hot. But then my grandma went down there and talked to her mom. And she came back up and she said, that gal cut her hair because mama told her she was gonna cut hers. That's why she thinks she cut it. So I didn't get in trouble that day.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I suppose the word that you would use to describe Aunt Kate would be love.
I would say Jesus, because
Yes.
I could see Jesus in her in everything that she did.
Yes, she's a remarkable woman, and I just know that from Phil and others would talk about her.
And I will say that when she died, with me being young, it was a very hard period, but that's one period when I really grew the most, because Jesus is that friend. When you lose your friend, you reach out to him, you pray to him, you cry to him.
That's right.
You recall other things, and it was what grandma had taught me, showed me, lived, talked about, that helped sustain me and helped me draw closer to the Lord. I was already saved, I already knew the Lord, but I was.
That's so beautiful, Pamela. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So is there another you want to share?
Well, the third chapter is raw emotions of the death of an absent parent. And that's chapter 3. And that's about my dad, Gilbert Carter. And he wasn't there when I was growing up, which is fine. And that's one of the reasons I put that in there, because I know there are a lot of people who are growing up in a single parent home. And I believe a lot of people can relate to that. And okay, I'll just say that.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. Is there a word that you could use to describe that?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Awesome.
No matter what you go through, no matter what you've done, or no matter what you think somebody did or didn't do to you, forgive. It frees you, it frees the other person. And if we don't forgive, God won't forgive us. And people do the best they can, the best they know how. We never know what they came through, their steps that they took, but just walk in love and walk in forgiveness.
Oh, that is so beautiful, Pamela. Yes. It truly is.
Yes, because Christ forgave us before we were even born. So how
right.
can we not forgive?
That's right. That's right. That helps us to go on. And I'll share with you that my father was not in the home when I was growing up. So I can relate to some of the things that you said, but it's so important, like you said, to forgive. And the thing my mother taught me was that he was just as responsible as she was for my being here. So that's an important factor too. But forgiveness is so important in any aspect of life.
Right. And that's the way I look at it. I look at it as, you know, whether he was in my life or not, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
That's
So
right.
he's due some honor and some respect.
That's right. Your days shall be long. All right. So we have one more chapter, one more person that you wouldn't mind sharing with us.
Okay, so this one isn't so much a chapter, but it's a dedication in the end of the book. And she was one of my very close friends, Carol Ali. She and I both went before the board for ministry together. I met her in Germany, and it was as if we were meant to be together, you know, as soulmates. We had a very strong Christian bond, and we could feel one another's pains. We could feel what one another was going through. So, I mean, it really was like, wow. And she was a true prayer warrior. And she helped me grow in that aspect.
Oh, that's beautiful. So she was a dear friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the word that I would say for her is angel. She was like an angel here, how I think of when the scriptures say we entertain angels and we're unaware of it. That's the way she was to me.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Because I met her in a time when I was just learning, transitioning into the military, didn't know anything about the military, just that I had got married. And she taught me, along with some other people, she took me by the hand, taught me about the military, taught me about a lot of stuff. And I'll forever be grateful to her and her family.
In that sense, it sounds like she was a messenger,
Yes.
as well as a protector.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And I truly, truly thank you for sharing those three with us. And we invite our viewers or our attendees to purchase your book, pick it up and read about the others. It was so inspiring. It truly, truly was. And it was a very intimate look at your personal development and you as a person. So we truly, truly thank you for sharing that. So how can people purchase your book?
You can go on Amazon.com and you can put the name of the book in there, Experiencing Death and the Growth from It, or you can put my name in there, and it's only $15. So it's cheap enough that you can get one for you and someone else.
That's right. That's true. Well, I got mine.
Amazon.com, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, good. Okay, we have a few minutes, so let's talk about your role as an evangelist. Your bio says that you've been serving in the evangelical ministry since the early 1990s, but apparently you knew God before then, but that's when he called you to do your work.
Yes.
So tell us how that came to be. And
you know, actually you be doing the work before you even get the title. And God was dealing with me, that even my husband was like, what is God telling you to do that you're not doing? Because I would be waking up every night, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would be hearing scriptures and hearing songs, because I always was in the choir, so God always dealt with me with songs too. And my spirit just kept saying that I gotta tell it, like, let me out, you know, and scriptures where I struggled with it, because growing up in my traditional Baptist church, I was taught women not supposed to preach, women not supposed to, you know, do so. I struggled with that, and I was like, God, and it was like, I remember when God showed me a reel, like of my life, of different things. And he was like, everything that you have been through has led up to you to this point for this answer. And I was like, but God, my mom don't believe in ministers. What about that? We're so close. I can't tell her that. I can't go against her. And I clearly heard God say, you say yes to me, I'll take care of your mom.
oh,
I was like, what about my husband? I said, my husband already think I'm crazy for you now. If I tell him this, I might not even have a husband. He said the same thing. You say yes to me and I'll take care of your husband.
Yeah.
So what could I do but say yes to God? And then the night after I just burst out crying and I said yes to God. The next morning I woke up again at 3 o'clock and my spirit was singing, I'm free. Praise the Lord. I'm free.
What a marvelous testimony. It was like fire shut up in your bones.
Yes.
Or in your soul. Yeah. So thank you so very much for sharing that. So in terms of being an author, is there someone who has inspired you as a writer or an author that you enjoy or inspired by besides God?
Well, there's a plethora of authors that I love books. If you could see in here, I got 3 different bookcases in here and books in storage. Yes, I do. I like Kenneth Hagin. I started out young reading a lot of his books. I like Benny Hinn, especially The Anointing and the Blood Covenant. Joyce Meyer's books. It's just a lot of books. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, I like my book.
Like that one the best.
But there are many authors, and as a child, I liked Richard Wright.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, some of the African American experience in there. He was a great man at this time. Truly remarkable writer. Truly was. So now let's take a look at the chat. See if there might be a question. Someone might have a question for you. Lorraine, she comments that this is beautiful. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Pamela, this has truly been a blessing and a joy to have this conversation to you. And it's coming from my heart. And on behalf of AAHA and those who have already read your book, and even those who will purchase and read it, I just want to thank you first for opening up your own heart to share your very personal journey with experiencing the death of loved ones. And secondly, for using your evangelical ministry to guide us through the biblical teachings that come out of your book. And again, just for your presence here today. It truly has been inspirational and it's been a joy. So we thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And if I may say one last thing, I just want to encourage everybody everywhere, no matter what you go through, Jesus is the answer.
Yes, he truly is. And we thank you for that. And we wish you the very best in your future endeavors. And may God continue to bless you, which I'm sure he will.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Thank you, Bob. So next guest is my cousin, Lorraine Jones Whitfield. She was born in Warrenton and she graduated from Fauquier High in 1978. She attended Liberty University and studied at the American Association of Christian Counselors. Lorraine is a Christian family counselor, a Christian life coach, a board certified mental health coach, and a teacher. She is the CEO of Hannah's Heart Ministry and SHE Soars LLC. She and her husband, Elder Carlton Whitfield Sr., who also is an Army veteran, they are parents to 7 and grandparents to 15. They reside in Wilson, North Carolina, where they work together in marriage ministry and family counseling groups. In her spare time, Lorraine enjoys crocheting and cheering for the Carolina Panthers. She also loves very much spending time with her family. So hello, Lorraine, and welcome. We need you to turn on your mic.
It's on.
Okay, good to see you. Bless you. It's a joy to have you.
Great interview, Pamela. I just want to say that first. That was very good. Very good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it truly was inspiring. Truly
Was inspiring. I will look up your book.
Yes. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
So Lorraine, I know you're a very busy woman who wears many hats. So we're here at AAHA. Thank you also for carving out the time to be with us today. Your various devotional journals and your notebooks have become very valuable tools for establishing a firm faith. And your women's ministries have been an excellent source for building on the faith that you speak of. So we thank you so much. And we thank you for coming here to talk about them. So first, Lorraine, tell us about the community where you grew up in Warrenton and how you suppose it shaped you into becoming the versatile women that you are today.
Well, as you know, I grew up in Warrenton, Virginia, a little place called Alexandria, in a little teeny house across from the DMV.
That's right.
I grew up there and partially in Haytah Street, where my grandma and aunt and all of them lived. So that's where I grew up at. That's where my foundation started, from what I know and can remember. And then we moved to a little place called Bethel, Virginia. And from Bethel, we went to Oliver City. And from Oliver City, we went to Morrisville out there in Bill, Virginia. That's where my dad resides right now, as I reside right here in Wilson, North Carolina. But I grew up in, like I said, I grew up in Fauquier County. And I left Fauquier County by the way of military after I married my husband. So, and we traveled in different places. I traveled part with him. We went to Italy and Georgia and here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and many different places. I can't name them all right now, so now I reside here, and 7 grown children, 15 growing up grandchildren.
That is
Yes.
so marvelous, a marvelous story. I remember the days, Alexandria Pike. I came over and babysat with you many, many times. And I had authority back in those days to spank your hands.
No.
But I didn't have occasion to do it. But you were the first after 3 boys.
Yes.
And the boys understand, somewhat my rap. But I remember those days well. And you had truly blossomed into be a fine lady.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're just honored to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here as well.
So let's talk about your book entitled Faithing It.
Faithing It.
Yes, was that your first publication?
Actually, was my first publication, actually published work, but my very first writing, back in high school, me and a friend of mine named Zandra Grant, we used to sit in a classroom, we used to write poems and stuff, and to this day, she talks about that. But my first writing that I wrote, and I had a friend type it because I didn't know how to type, and I wrote it in 1978. It was 1978 in December, right after my grandma passed, and the name of it is called "I Remember Grandma." It's on my shelf. Eventually, I might type it up and put it in hard copy and share it with the family. But those were the spent at the corner house with my grandma during her last times here and at the hospital in Charlotte. I remember all the things, and so that's what I wrote about. It's like about 20 pages of it.
Is that right?
Yes, so that was my very first writing, but I have it, but it hasn't been published. So.
That would be awesome, Lorraine, to put out for others to read. That is beautiful. I just am touched by that, having grown up in the corner house that you speak of.
Yeah, the ones that did shape my life was my grandma. All the time, go and get your ears pierced, go uptown to get the most expensive earrings at the little shop, and make sure we kept them in our ears and don't remove the strings or the straws. I remember those times where sitting there having the fruitcake at Christmas time. So it didn't shape me to cook because I'm not really a cook, but I enjoyed watching her cook and and Chris would keep me in line. And so those kind of things. So I remember all the things. And if it wasn't for them or my grandma Pauline, they planted seeds in my life that grew, that grew and inspired me
That's
in so
beautiful.
many different ways. Yes.
So then you learned or realized that you enjoyed writing when you were in high school.
Young, when I was
poetry.
a notebook around with me, and my mom used to, she was always buy me one too. And I always had a notebook also. And I was young, and every time we go on family rides on Sundays, I will always have my notebook and my pencil. I never left home without. And today I still do the same thing.
Awesome. Well, Lorraine, that is beautiful. That is so nice.
Or if I take my phone and I take pictures of nature, and then I write about them. The word in the scripture that can go with the picture that I find out there in God's nature. So yeah, I enjoy writing.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is wonderful. And I would look forward to reading those pages that you wrote about your grandmother.
Yeah, I share.
Yeah, that would be a great thing. So getting back to Faithing It, how did you come up with that title, and who is your intended audience?
Well, faithing it, as you know, faithing is not a word in the dictionary, but the ing just gave it a little twang. It's just like faithing it, because so many things that I've been through in life. When you thought I had cancer, I had to faith my way through it.
Yes.
The doctor really told, he was in the military, they could not detect that I had a thyroid issue, but it was big. And I said, no, I don't believe it. I'm trusting God with this thing. And he came back and it was so big, and he was like, no, I knew it was cancer, but it wasn't. It wasn't. So I used my faith to get through that.
Yes.
And it came about when I was in that car accident, the tractor trailer hit me.
Yes, I remember that.
Because everything shut down, the finances was gone. And I was in a little bed in my living room and couldn't do nothing. And depression came because I was in a wheelchair. I had to go through a walker, all the things when you're used to doing for yourself, you have to get somebody.
Yes.
So then one day I just heard God say, take up your bed and walk. And that's what I did. I took up my bed, I walked. But the therapist came in, they helped me do the things. And from then on, I kept on faithing it. So, because faith, you can't see faith.
That's right.
You just got to know that it's there. You got to know that he's going to do what he said. You got to know that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. So that's what it's about. So I put little different stories about faithing it, believing God to heal my mom from cancer. And I praise God for that, because she didn't tell me all the things that she was through. But we prayed about the cancer. And what gave me the faith was when the doctor said, well, because pancreatic cancer was really rough, it's really progressive. And he said, well, I'm not worried about cancer. The cancer is the least worried. It's going to be the heart because of all the. But I said, Lord, she didn't tell me about the heart. So now when I pray for people, I try to get all the details. So cancer was not the issue no more. So faithing it is I faith it.
Mm-hmm.
I faith it.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful concept. It truly is. It's original. And I noticed that your book, Faithing It, is it's a journal and a notebook.
Yes.
Devotional.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. It is that. The first one is like a devotional with a little journal in it. The second one is like a scripture type journal. You write the scriptures.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the first one was so successful that you ran out and had to reissue it. Is that right?
Yes, I had to do.
And then you had to do a Faith It Part 2.
Part 2.
So that's marvelous. And you went through Amazon?
Yeah, I'm going through Amazon. Yes, and some I sell them. We have them from home. And
so I remember seeing Faith It around, like in Walmart and the Christian bookstores.
This is a Christian bookstore, and a couple of my publishers are in Warrenton at the bookstore as well.
Yes, that's
and
wonderful.
and at the bookstore here in Wilson as well.
Yes, yes, I've seen it around. So if anybody wants it, that's the best place to go. Is it through Amazon?
You can go through Amazon or you can contact me, one of the two.
Okay, okay. We'll ask for your website information as we go along. So now you did Faith It, and then you had 1 and 2, and then you came up with Kids Faith It 2, meaning
Yes.
also. So how did that come about? I mean,
Yeah, because it came about because children need to face it too. You know, I try to the whole entire thing, but me teaching children all the time, and I see them go through so many things and go through a lot of things, and I wanted to teach them how to face it so that they wouldn't grow up broken or go through the, so we so in the book of Kids Faith It Too, it gives kids like words like be yourself, be encouraged, courageous kid, or it gives them those character traits so that they can live by. And the little boy here at school, he won a book and then got a T-shirt. So he walks around here with his T-shirt on. He walks around with his T-shirt. So he's telling everybody book. So he's got the inspiration for my next book after that. So he did that one, and his kids got attitude of gratitude. So he was he encouraged writing that book. So we raised money. Somebody did a fundraiser so we could make the money to sell, I mean, not sell them, but to give the books to the kids here at the school.
That's beautiful. So what age range are we talking about?
Most of them start like from 8 and up. 8 and up.
Yes. So how old are the children that you teach now?
The children that I teach, they'll be 7 when they come here, 6 and 7, because I'll be first grade.
Yeah. And you can still teach them the concept.
Yeah. Parents can read the story and talk to them about having faith or trusting God, or a lot of parents have bought it anyway for their children, a lot of them.
So after faithing it, book 1 and 2, Kids Faith It Too, as a teacher, I'm asking as a teacher, what lessons about faith would you definitely like people to take away?
The lesson that I would like to take away that, you know, you mean in my book or the kids' book?
Or any of those books. You know, when you talk about faith in it, what would
there's nothing impossible, not even with your children, family, there's nothing impossible, you know, because there's no age on it, you know, there's no age on faith. You just teach them the characteristics, honesty, integrity, kindness. There's no age on it. They can faith it as well. Like that, take the negativity. Yes.
Yeah, so nothing's impossible if they have that faith to go on. Yes, and they seek the one who gives faith.
Amen.
Yes, okay. So now, in addition to your faith episode, books, journals.
Yes.
I looked on your webpage and I see Her Power to Fight. I see She, S-H-E, Speaks. I see Trusting in God. So what are the themes for these 3 books and how did they come about?
Well,
just continue to faith it.
Yes, all of it deals with faith. And mostly when I teach basically the women in the Bible. And I teach the women in the Bible, about the women in the Bible, but I bring it to real life to where you can relate to her. You know, her power to fight, her faith to win is win is W.I.N, walk in new. So power to fight, her faith to win. It was inspired by my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law had breast cancer, and she started out with breast cancer, and we faithed it. We faithed it for 5 years. For 5 whole years, we faithed it. And, you know, and when the doctor said this, but in these 5 years, she gained her faith. She gave her life to God, and all the things that she needed. So, so that's what that came about, and to help someone else know today, you got the power to fight. So it's the different women in the Bible that had the power to fight. You know, like in 2 Kings, when the ladies when the lady's husband passed away and they wanted to take her children as credit for the credit and work them. Well, put out your pots, put your pots out
Yeah,
there
right.
and take your nets off, you know, so
Yes, okay.
facing it that way. So yeah, you know,
That's
fight through anything. I just took different, and then you just journal about what God is saying to you in those stories, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a wonderful concept, Lorraine.
Attitude of gratitude. It was, I had written that for a while back, but when my dad had his accident, I struggled hard. And sometimes when I talk about it, I struggle even harder, but I have to face it. So one day it was like God woke me up in the middle of the night and he says, but in everything, give thanks. Because this is the me. This is what God said me, in everything, give thanks. Even though he might be like that, give me thanks.
Yes.
I
Yes.
had a hard time because I would say in my mind, that's not my dad. I would say that. I would really say that. But he told me to give thanks.
Mhm. And that is your father. Mhm. And it's a blessing. It's a true blessing that he's with us. He's, you know, he has his
He was
mind,
89
the strength. Yeah.
my day.
Mhm.
Right? So that was the everything give thanks, because it was the hardest grief that anybody could go through without dying, without somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm thankful because I looked at a video yesterday, my niece posted, and he was on the table and he was pushing the
All
things.
right. Good.
He was
All
pushing
right.
the little boy, and he was, it's like the little kid is like bringing him.
Yes. Yes. And he had movement in his hands. That's marvelous. That's wonderful.
All that and tears his face.
Yeah.
God
That's
said it.
beautiful. Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Just taking on his suffering, I think that you dealt with. And that just comes out of love. Just comes out of love. So Uncle, he'll be what, 89? Moving on. That's beautiful. And he looks good. He really looks handsome. He doesn't look a day over 70.
I know, right? He
I
looks
know, put him younger than me, but he
I know.
does.
Younger than me.
He does. Yeah.
He
So
looks
his birthday's Friday. I'll make
Yes.
sure we see him. I'll bring Doug down.
Yep.
So that we get to see him. This
So yeah,
is
impossible for God. He can do all the things. I just got to trust the process.
that's
Just
right.
process by day, you know. So yeah, I learned a lot in those faith and walks. It's everything give thanks. But as I was listening to Pamela say, you know, and then there's a process in the part where you have to forgive and you have to let go and let's go. You want God to forgive you. So you
That's right.
if you go into God in faith and you want God to do something, you got that in your heart. You just got to know that you want a prayer answered. You better ask God. You got to forgive whoever, or
That's true.
your forgiveness,
Yes.
your healing. Yeah,
Yes. That was a wonderful lesson from Pam.
yes, it was.
So now you're
Yeah.
involved in.
So yeah, so I got inspired by Jeremiah 18 and it's kind of, my ministry kind of goes towards the women that have been broken or went through trauma, or maybe went through depression or deal with anxiety, and teaching them how to know the triggers and how to get through the things in life. Because we know that when he put us on the wheel, the potter's wheel, he said they were marred. We weren't broken, we were marred. So he had to make us over again, but he didn't change us. He didn't change nothing. He just made me over. He changed my mind.
That's right.
He changed who I was, who I was. And he transformed my mind to the way he wanted me to be. So kind of like, so some people throw away the broken pieces and get rid of them, but God took those broken pieces and make them again.
Yes, he does. He does. He shapes and molds us. He's the potter. He's the potter.
Yep.
So Hannah's heart and SHE swords. Were you talking about both of them or one of them, or can you?
Well, Hannah's heart is like my women's ministry at church, but it kind of pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
Is my counsel. She soars is my counseling. She stands for saved, healed, and empowered. But when I talk to the women, empowered might be my E, but your E might be encouraged, or you might be
Okay.
So I usually do boot camps with that. That's kind of boot camp. With the boot camps, I try to deal with the whole woman holistically, like mentally, physically, emotionally. And Hannah's heart, you can too, but I do that with the ladies in the church. The other one is kind of my business type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so Hannah's Heart is your women's ministry at your church.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I help them with, yeah, maybe with education or like some now I'm trying to help with the computer skills or help them get the things like, you know.
Yeah, you're such a blessing to them. The Lord has truly gifted you in so
Yes.
many ways to share what He has given you to take out into.
Yeah. All can kind of go together, but different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And some is counseling, some is teaching, some is guidance, you know, scriptural readings, Bible study. He's gifted you in so many ways. He truly is. So your webpage, what's the address? Okay, we have it here. We have it. www.shesoarsfaith.com. SHESOARSFAITH.com. And so we link into that page, and then all of your ministries and the works that you do, your books, and they're all located there.
Well, the ladies updated my books on the website. You can go to Amazon for the books. And look up Lorraine Jones Whitfield, or look up the name of the book. And you find me there, or you, like I said, you can. If you find me on Facebook, you can ask me, and I can tell you how to get a hold of my books. And yes.
Okay. So again, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I know that you have a very, very busy schedule. I know that you have multiple ministries and you have all these books, and plus you take the time to teach. And that's such a marvelous thing. So I know that you're extremely busy even today. So we want to thank you again for being with us, and to remind you that your publications of ministries for women and children have been an ongoing source of inspiration. They truly have, and encouragement and spiritual growth. So we are thankful for that. And I'm just honored to be in the family with you, you know, in the greater family.
Yes, thank you.
We truly, truly thank you. And we wish you all the best and pray the best for you, you know, in the days ahead. So again, we thank you. And I see on our chat that Pamela has commented as saying, thank you for your kind words, everyone. And she wants to thank Angela and Christine for the invite. It's a blessing to be a part of this day. And then Pamela says to you, this is awesome. I will definitely look for your books. So again, we thank you so much. We thank you both, Pamela and Lorraine, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes, we thank our Creator, our God, Jesus, if you will.
Amen.
You know, for making it so that you're able to join us here today. So next month in September, we will come back on September 13th and on the 27th. On the 13th, we'll go back to our genealogy series, and we will talk to Jerry Lewis of Upperville and Asheville. He's got roots in Asheville too. And he'll talk to us about the Lewis and the Grigsby family lines. And that's on September 13th. And then on September 27th, we'll talk about church history records. And we're going to bring Darlene Green of Hume. She attends Mount Morris Baptist Church there. And she will talk to us about collecting and maintaining church history records. So we hope you will all join us when we come back then. And again, thank you very much, Lorraine, and thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Nice, Pamela.
You're welcome.
So if anybody have any questions for them before we sign out? Or any comments that you'd like to add?
This was truly a blessing, and I thank you, Christine, for having me. And you tell Uncle Reverend Phil I said hello.
I sure will. It looks like Deborah wants to say something. Can we connect her? Can we unconnect
I was just saying blessings to both of you on your life journeys, and I really was glad Pamela invited me today. Cousin Pamela invited me today. Yeah.
Family affair.
Keep up
should
the
be
great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to sign off. And again, we thank you so very much. And we look forward to seeing you on September 13th when we talk to Jerry Lewis. God bless you both.
Thank you. God bless.
Bye now.